finish it. Don't quit halfway, which we succeeded 1 out of 3. So, but yeah, and the second one saw it right the way through and still seeing it through. So, but yeah, that's what we've always told our kids that if you do something, do it. Get it finished. Don't stop halfway.
She decided to study for 2 years, and she chose a direction. And then the rule was, you pass the studies, we pay for it. You fail it, you carry the cost. And that was a big thing that she needed to commit to.
She was very small, not very small, I can't remember, probably grade
5.
She was in grade 5. And then she said to us, no, she wants to learn to play.
Well, she was grade 4.
She was in grade 4. She wanted to learn to play the violin. And we were going, yeah, right, there's no music in our family, no music, nothing. We said, yeah, okay, right, carried on. Eventually, she starts squandering away money, and a year later, she says, no, she wants to play the violin. And I said, yeah, but it's expensive. She says, no, Dad, it's fine. I've saved, I think she saved about 3,000 or 4,000 rand. She says, here's the money, I want a violin. She says, well, before you buy a violin, let's go to someone who knows what to buy and what not to buy, and if you want a violin or viola. And then that's where she started. So she's quite...
And then because we made her save for it, because like 2 years before she was playing guitar at school, and she wasn't really committed, she didn't really practice, so we were very skeptical about the violin. But we kind of said to her, if you save the money, we will also give you some money. And then when she actually started playing in March, April, and by August she was playing her first Eisteddfod.
Good day and welcome again to Parenting on Purpose. And for this session, we're going to speak about commitment and training our kids to be committed. Again, I think as a teacher, you might well see vast differences in different kids from different homes and how they deal with commitment. So we want to speak about how do I actually train my child up in this. And all throughout our series, we've been speaking about the purposefulness of parenting, having an end goal in mind. And I think in this regard, it's just as important. What am I aiming towards? Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, bringing up 3 sons, something that was really important to me was remembering that one day they weren't going to just be my sons. Yes. They were going to be someone else's husband. They were going to be someone else's employer or employee. They were going to be some little girl or some little boy's dad one day. And yes, so I want to know that when they left home, they would be committed husbands, committed employers, committed employees, committed dads one day. Committed to God, committed to their role in the church, committed to whatever they decided to do. Which meant we had to start training them in those things when they were younger. Yes. And it's a particular passion of mine to develop commitment in children. My sons probably roll their eyes a little bit about it because maybe I overstep the mark every now and again with it. But it was holding that end goal in mind. I'm not teaching you commitment now to make your life miserable, but because when you walk out of my door one day, I want to know that you're going to be extraordinary in that area, that you're not going to bail when marriage gets difficult, that you're not going to walk out on your children when the responsibilities get too much. So we had to work on those things to say that if you're committed to something, you see it through until it's finished. And we had a particular incident that I really remember so clearly with my eldest son, who masters things really quickly. And that's one of his talents, one of his gifts, one of his extraordinary strengths, is he masters something. But as soon as he's mastered it, he gets quite bored, and then he wants to move on to the next thing. And there's a certain positive side to that he is a wonderful problem solver and he can keep moving on to the thing. But it concerned me that if that became the story of his life, that he would move on and, he'd get bored with this and then he'd want to move on to something else and something else.
Yeah.
And some things you have to see through. Not everything can be exciting all the time. So he was particularly good at sport. And he tried everything. He'd played rugby and he was good at it, and he played cricket and he was good at it, and he played soccer and he was good at it, and he played tennis and he was good at it. And he got to the point where he tried all those things, seen through the year with them, bored, and he came home the one day, he wants to do karate. And so we said, okay, and we talked it through that if you start, you're going to have to see it through. Because it's outside of the school curriculum, we've got to pay extra, we've got to drive you there every time, etc. And so we had that negotiation. No, he wants to do karate. And we paid for the term, and I said to him, you can give it a term's trial, but you see it out for the term. And by the second lesson, he decided he was more of a ball team sport kind of boy. And karate, the one-on-one, and also the fact that he was quite well built and might, the contact with someone else, what happens if he hurts someone else? Come lesson 2, and he didn't want to do it anymore. And it was hard because he cried on the way in the car to every lesson for the remainder of that term. But the bottom line was he had decided he wanted to do it. And I really felt strongly that he needed to see it through.
Yeah.
So we had the tears in the car on the way, all the way. He ought to chirp up a bit once he was there every time. But every week it was, please, Mom, please, can I stop? And I persisted through until the end. At the end of the term, when the commitment was over, we let him stop.
Yeah.
But I really felt that it was something that we needed to imprint in him, so that that strength of being able to grab hold of something, learn how to do it, move on, didn't become his biggest weakness.
Yes. I think the way you come at it is so critically important. Because karate for Bryden is not a big deal.
No.
That in itself is not a big lesson there. But what are you aiming at? You have that end goal in mind of a committed employee, somebody who can count the costs, like the scripture says, and then commit. Think, is this going to be a commitment? Yes, it is. And then my yes is my yes.
Yeah.
So that's what you're training towards. It's important for us to keep that in mind because we learn these lessons in the small things. And as a parent, we have to grab onto those opportunities and say, what's the lesson behind this thing?
Yeah.
All right, let's grab the opportunity and learn what we need to learn.
With my son, it was the issue of him not wanting to finish school. Because at that time, schools in Atlantis were beset by gangsters. And children often, especially if you are in one area of Atlantis, living in that area, but the school is in another area, then the children tended to be associated with a gang closer to where they live. So his friends were being targeted. Not him specifically, but his friends were being targeted. And he was scared. So he decided to take the TVET route, to go to college rather. And in that, we started seeing, a couple of months into it that there's a lack of commitment. And we decided to be harsh with him. We decided that, this is going to become a pattern to you. And we just decided, even if you fail at college, we're going to make sure you are at college every day. You're going to learn that commitment of being there. To the point where we actually, spoke to his lecturers. Send us a WhatsApp message. Let us know if he's not in class so that we can keep tabs on that. We can't force him. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We can't force him to take in what they're giving, but at least to teach him, you're going to be there. So that one day when he's in a job, if he doesn't like his boss, if he doesn't like his job, to know that this is what you need to do now. This is a commitment you made and you need to stick to it.
But as crucial, I think, is our modeling it. Am I modeling commitment to my children? And again, it's in the smallest of things because we live in the same home and they notice everything. Am I committed in my diet disciplines? Am I committed when I exercise? Do they see me as a good employee? Do they see me as a committed spouse? Do they see when I say, like I said recently to my kids, I'm going to gym with you? I mean, I don't particularly like it much, but I know they need it at the moment, and I have to make sure that I keep pushing at it because I made a commitment, and they're going to see if I drop that commitment. So I think our modeling of it is as important. Do they see it in our lives?
Yeah. And I think, I mean, if you sort of read a lot around the current generation, there are a generation that moves from thing to thing quite quickly. And if this job doesn't work for me, I move on to the next job. And there's an excitement in that. And to be able to switch careers, it's new and it's fresh. But there are certain things, marriage, children, where you don't want that kind of moving from something to the other. Sometimes there are times where you have to push through. And I think that's something that we have to establish when children are young. And it's not nice to keep making them do something that they don't particularly enjoy. But sometimes it's something that we have to do. Yes.
Another aspect of that, though, is in terms of what they learn in the pushing through.
Yes.
Because by letting them out of a commitment, we are being gracious to them. We're saving them anxiety. We're saving them stress. We're saving them something unpleasant because they want out. So I think that's also important. What do they learn in the process? They
learn a certain resilience. They learn to be able to push. And also sometimes they learn that they can do something that they never thought they could before. And some children just naturally need a little bit more encouragement to try, to push through for a little while, to discover a talent or something that they can do. If I sort of think over a 30-plus year teaching career, I think about one of the things that more children have now than I've ever come across before is they suffer from a level of anxiety. And I think the world that we're living in contributes to that, and many children need to be medicated for it. But I think that we can begin to equip children slightly differently from when they're younger. To build a resilience in them, because we can't save them from anxiety every time. We can't save them from situations that aren't pleasant, but we can begin to equip them to have the strength to deal with those situations.
Our one son, he's an adult now, didn't particularly like to engage with the world. He was very introverted. And we forced him at age 10, 11 to do a sport, which was swimming. And he was very upset with us for weeks on end that we dared force him to go swimming. And I would never forget him having to go to, it wasn't a swimming school, it was they really worked him quite hard, a swimming club. So you couldn't out. And I remember him stopping swimming in this big pool, looking back at me, like daggers coming from his eyes, like, I don't like you, you are forcing me. And I'm standing there and I'm like, but you have to do this, sorry.
So Ilse she just played netball a few weeks ago. About 3 months ago.
Her first netball match.
Yeah, first netball match. And she was very excited. And she started off in a bang, and then she fell really badly on the tennis court where they were playing. And she cut up her knee, and it was really bad and was bleeding. And we had to, obviously the medics and the paramedics at the school quickly, cleaned up the knee and so forth. But she was crying quite obsessively.
It wasn't too serious.
Yes.
It was a roasty.
But it was a big roasty. And I said to her, come sit down, because we're going to watch your team play finish. Because that's a commitment. And she was really struggling to understand that. And then we went home. I said, tomorrow we're going to go look for better shoes, because I believe your shoes is causing you not to pick up your feet properly. and we're going to get back on the horse and we're going to do it again. And now, 3 months later, she loves netball. She doesn't miss a practice. And I think when they always say it's like Daddy always says, get back on the horse.
And I think that's what we need to remember when we're thinking about commitment and pushing through and resilience, is that we're preventing some future problems for our children, not just in terms of being husbands and fathers, but in terms of dealing with the little anxieties and dealing with the little things that build into very big things if we always dive in and save them and pull them out and say, you're not happy at this school, so we move you to this one, and to move you to this one, and move you to this one.
Yeah.
You're not happy in this sport, so, okay, give that one up and we try this. You know, you're not happy with this toy or this. Sometimes we just need to push through and focus more on equipping than on saving, so that we protect them from some of those future anxieties. We need to grow a generation of young people who can face difficulties head on, who can push through them, who have the resilience to say, I fall, I stand up again, I fall, I stand up again, and I stand. If we just keep diving in to say, oh, my sweetheart, that's so hard, let mommy make it better for you. We're not building a resilience and a strength in them that they are going to need in order to be successful, to be whole, to be content in the sort of world that we live in today, which is not an easy space or place.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So may God really give us wisdom in terms of modeling, but also training our kids in commitment. But we see the opportunities that there is for growing perseverance, for growing resilience. May God bless us with that wisdom.